All right. All right, I think we're fixed and we're back, everybody. All right, we're gonna go ahead and start over here. A little bit of technical difficulties. This is what happens when you're dealing with technology. We're streaming right now to 4 or 5 different places. We've got TikTok, we've got Instagram, we've got Facebook, we've got YouTube, we've got Twitter. So again, let's start back from the beginning here. So again, my name is Alex. I am the founder of Hostage Tape. Now, we are the largest mount tape brand in the world. In fact, here's our Shopify award. Shopify hands these awards out every time you hit certain thresholds. And this award was actually from over a year ago in April of 2023, where we surpassed 100,000 orders. And well into this year, we've blown way past this, but we now have well over 100,000 people who use our mouth tape every night. We're changing lives all over the world. We are also the official sleep aid of the UFC. I'm really proud of that one, and I've got a great story about how I met Dana White, became the official sleep aid of the UFC. Now, we also are partnered with really great medical institutions, and one of them is the largest ear, nose, and throat clinic in California, the LA Center for ENT. Now, we always get a lot of questions around that because when people hear about mouth taping, they think that sounds kind of crazy. It sounds really weird. Do you have any studies? Do you have any doctors who back this up? And we do. So the LA Center for Ear, Nose, and Throat, the largest ENT clinic in California, backs us. And they always recommend us to their patients who they think need mouth taping. We're also partnered with a clinic out of Houston. His name is Dr. Elfie. He's one of the leading airway surgeons in the world. And I've got a great story where he and I talked about why we're mouth breathing. So we can get in and talk about at some point here, because a lot of people ask, they wonder, okay, mouth breathing, like why is it so bad? Why are we doing it? And what caused it? So he and I get in depth. We talk about that. I'll talk about that here later on the stream. And look, we're the #1 mouth tape on Walmart. We're the #1 mouth tape on Amazon, even though we keep getting banned. And mouth tape's actually a banned category on Amazon. It's not supposed to be sold. They don't allow it, but it's Amazon, so everybody keeps sneaking stuff on there. And we're the largest, so we get targeted, and we always get booted, and then we keep relisting it. And we're the largest brand just on Shopify and out there on the web, period. And at the end of the day, look, we're about stopping and reducing snoring. It's beard friendly because most of us men, we've got stubble, we've got beards, we've got mustaches. So a question people have is, well, what if I've got a mustache? What if I've got a beard? Does it work with that? And it gives you life-changing sleep. So let's talk about my founder story. Why did I start Hostage Tape? And then I'll even get into talking about why did I name it Hostage Tape. It's a crazy story, and I'll talk about that here shortly. So my founder story. Why did I start a mouth taping brand? So I want you to, let's go back a few years. And I was in my bedroom every night snoring away like a chainsaw. It was so loud that you could hear me throughout the upper part of the whole house. And it was so bad, in fact, that my wife had to sleep in the other bedroom. You might call it a sleep divorce. It's a much more common thing. But I would be in bed and I would roll over and I would look to see where my wife is, and she wouldn't be there next to me. She was, in fact, down the hall in the guest bedroom, sleeping next to the bedrooms of our two kids. And despite being down the hall, thinking that they would be protected from the loud noises coming from our bedroom, they would still hear me. And this would go on for years of the loud snoring, sleeping in separate bedrooms, and you can imagine the resentment that builds from not being able to sleep in the same bed. Because look, it's not something we should be doing. People laugh about it, and people think that, oh yeah, he snores, big deal, just sleep in separate bedrooms. But we shouldn't be, right? There's an intimacy, there's a closeness that is built when you're in the same bed with each other. And when you sleep in separate bedrooms, somebody's bound to be resentful, and that resentment builds. And so then I would get up in the morning. My wife wouldn't be there. She would be downstairs. She would have gotten the kids together, got them to school, and then I would mosey down, and I worked in the basement of my house at the time because I was building my first business, and I always felt like crap. I was always a little bit of a I always sleep in. I really wasn't an early riser, but I never felt very good. And what's funny is I was an athlete my whole life. Like you can see the jerseys on the wall here. I was a football player. My first love was football, and I always wanted to be that. And so when I retired and became a family man with two kids and a wife, and then had a real job and not playing a game anymore, it was a hard transition to find yourself. You kind of lose that internal motivation to get to the gym, to be healthy, to work out all the time, just to have that drive. You lose that when you retire and you transition. And so losing that motivation and becoming this new person that I needed to be, this family man, this leader of a business, my employees, a leader of the household, I lost myself and I wasn't taking care of myself. And so that paired with this growing distance that was happening between my wife and I, not sleeping in the same bedrooms, we hit this low point in the relationship where I needed to seriously look at like what do I need to do to work on myself. It was what I call this Jocko moment of extreme accountability, and take accountability for everything in my life that I could control. And my health was something I could control. And my sleep was something that I thought I should be able to control rather than go to a doctor. And I think most of us men these days don't really feel like going to a doctor. We'll just figure it out on our own. So I hit this point of like, okay, I need to work on myself. So what do I need to do? So I thought I would start with my sleep because I was snoring like a chainsaw. It was so loud. My wife and I were sleeping in separate bedrooms. The resentment had built. This wedge had grown between the two of us. So pulled my computer out. I went onto Google, and you start typing, how do I stop snoring, which then led me to Amazon, and you started looking on Amazon for, all right, how do I stop snoring? And you see some of the different devices. And one of the devices that I saw a lot of was mouth guards. You can get a mouth guard that was supposed to push your jaw forward and keep you from snoring. So I thought, okay, I'll try this thing. We'll see if this works. And so I bought one of these, waited for it to come, right, get shipped to me. And so then one day I get it, and I rip this thing out of the package, and I'm eager to really try this thing. Because again, I'm at a point where I I'm really sort of desperate to try to fix this issue, right? To become healthier and to get better sleep, right? Feel better. So you take this thing out of the box, and it's this mouth guard that doesn't have any sort of shape to it. You have to boil it in water, just like back when you're playing football when you're younger. You put a mouth guard in boiling water, and then you put it in your mouth, and you practically burn your mouth, right? Trying to form it. And so I did that, and then you put it in your mouth, and you're like, wow, this thing really doesn't feel very good. It's really uncomfortable, and then it would keep your mouth open, so then you would drool out of your mouth, and it really hurt your gums. So I was really skeptical that this thing was even going to work before I went to sleep with it. So later that night, then I get in bed, and I've got this huge honking mouth guard thing ready to go. I feel like I'm in high school football again, because those mouth guards that we used to wear in high school football were like these giant rubber, mouth guards. So I put this thing in, and I go to sleep. It took me a little while to go to sleep because, again, this thing was so uncomfortable. And I proceeded to go to sleep. And then when I woke up the next morning, I did not feel better. And I had a dried amount of saliva that had ran down my cheek and onto my pillow, because it kept my mouth open the whole night. And my mouth was dry, and I didn't feel very good. And I, of course, was still snoring. So mouth guard didn't work. So feeling frustrated, and again, not knowing what to do, because you really feel hopeless when you're snoring that bad, or really at all, and your partner is so frustrated that they don't know what to do. You feel like your life's being held hostage. Wink. In many ways, right? So you feel hopeless and you don't know what to do. So I went back onto Google, and this time you start searching for snoring, how to stop snoring, how to get better sleep, and you go past the first and second page. It's when you really dive in to the third page, and then you go to the fourth page and the fifth page and the sixth page, right? You're going down a rabbit hole trying to find something as you're scrolling that pops out at you. And I probably got to the sixth or seventh page on Google, and I saw it. And I saw it, and I clicked into it, and it was an excerpt. It was this article that was pulled out from a book. It was from a best-selling book, and the best-selling book was called Breath, and it was written by a man named James Nestor. And this excerpt that was taken out was about an experiment that they did. So James was inspired to do this experiment where they were going to go to Stanford Medical Center, of all places. Stanford Medical Center is one of the greatest institutions in the world. In fact, my sister went to Stanford. My brother-in-law went to Stanford. Their kids go to Stanford. A lot of lineage, and the family went to Stanford. Great institution. Dr. Andrew Huberman is a Stanford guy. So they go to Stanford Medical Center, and the experiment was, let's plug our nose for 10 days. So we only breathe out of our mouth, and let's see what happens. So we're going to record anecdotally how we feel, as well as the doctor was going to record what happened. So they're 10 days in, and immediately what happens to James is they're snoring like crazy, like logs. They're sawing logs, right? Like they're chainsawing logs, all that stuff. Developed sleep apnea, and their blood oxygen plummeted through the floor, right? Meaning they didn't have as much oxygen in their blood and in their body. And they felt horrible. Like they felt like death. It was that bad. And so then after those 10 days, they unplugged their nose, and then they mouth taped to force nasal breathing when they slept. And after one day of mouth taping and nasal breathing at night when they slept, everything went away. They weren't snoring anymore. They didn't have sleep apnea, obviously, anymore. their blood oxygen levels came back up. They felt great, and everything that the doctors were observing was normal. So when I read that, I had this light bulb moment and thought, oh my gosh, is it really that simple? Is it really mouth breathing? And I'm thinking, being an athlete that I was, you'd think your coaches would teach you everything you need to know, especially as it relates to how to breathe properly when you're running, you're exercising. But none of my coaches had never taught me that. They'd never taught me that. In fact, the only place I had ever heard about how to breathe properly was I went through a stint of doing some yoga. I'd never done yoga before. And so I did yoga for like a summer. And they used to teach that in yoga. They would teach, keep your mouth shut and breathe through your nose. And I thought it was crazy. It didn't make sense to me. And like most people, when you hear this idea of keep your mouth shut and only breathe through your nose, you think it's all woo woo, and you just kind of disregard it as, well, that doesn't matter. Like, what does it matter if I'm breathing through my mouth or my nose? That's the same thing, right? But it's not, and we'll get to that. So when I learned that, I immediately started thinking, okay, what kind of tape do I need to get to start mouth taping? So I went back to my computer, went in Amazon, and I started typing mouth tape. And at the time, this was 5-6 years ago, mouth tape really wasn't obviously what it is today, right? Mouth taping has definitely gained a lot of momentum because of us and how much we market this product. And so I think I bought some sort of 3M surgical tape, micropore tape, something like that. And I eagerly waited to get it shipped to me, and then it was like a day or two later, I get it, and I'm like excited to go to bed that night. And so I get it, and I get into bed, and I'm all kind of ready to go. And before I put it on and went to bed, I practiced a few times, because when you mouth tape for the first time, you don't know what to do. You don't know how it's going to feel. You don't know how much to put on. It's this completely new foreign experience that really the first thing that goes through your brain is, wait a minute, if I put mouth tape on, am I going to die? Like, what if my nose gets stuffed up? Am I going to die? Everybody has that thought. And I, the founder of Hostage Tape, had that thought. Am I going to die if I put mouth tape on and my nose gets stuffy? So I sat there and just kind of thought about it, and I practiced ripping off a few different pieces. I didn't know, all right, should I do a little strip? Because in the book Breath, James talks about just doing a little strip like this. And so I tested doing a little strip, and then I realized, well, I could just pop that strip right off, and that's not going to work too well. I've got a pretty big, strong jaw, and I got to ensure that I don't just pop it off and my mouth stays shut, because then it kind of defeats the purpose of mouth taping and forcing nasal breathing. So then I ripped a bigger piece off, and then I put it all the way across my mouth. And that feels really weird. Because again, I think we have this natural reaction that when we cover our mouth, you get this fight or flight response that you want to rip whatever it is that's covering your mouth off. It's a very, one of those, again, fight or flight, like live or die type moments. And so you put that on, and then you kind of start to get the feel of what it feels like, just to focus on nasal breathing. And then you realize, it becomes very evident when you do that, how much you're actually breathing through your mouth. It becomes very clear, wow, I'm actually breathing through my mouth way more than I ever realized. And so I put it on, and I'm just getting comfortable with it. And again, I was having these thoughts of like, well, shit, what happens if my nose gets stuffy? No, you know what? I'm going to be okay. And it's like Dr. Andrew Huberman says, your mouth was for talking or eating, right? Not for breathing. And so my cooler head prevailed, and I realized, no, I'm gonna be fine. My nose was meant for breathing. Let's do this, right? So I put it on, turn the light off, I lay down, pull the covers up, and I'm staring straight up at the ceiling, and it's like you're a little kid waiting for the monster to come out of the closet. Your eyes are kind of wide open, you're sort of looking around, and you've got this tape over your mouth, and you look like you're being held hostage. Wink. and and then I fell asleep. So then when I fell asleep, I woke up. And when I woke up the next day, I woke up really early. Must have been 5 or 6 in the morning. And I could not believe how I felt. I felt like my son, like if I was a kid and I had energy again. Because I'm a 45-year-old man right now, and at the time I was in my late 30s, early 40s. But I felt like I was a teenager again. I could not believe the amount of energy that I felt. And I immediately knew, holy crap, I just had a life changing moment. My life had just changed in that moment. I used to be somebody who snored like a freight train, didn't know what to do. My wife slept in a separate bedroom, caused a rift in our marriage. I discovered mouth taping to keep my mouth shut, and now I solved it. I was getting amazing sleep. I started mouth taping every night, and it also helped me start to get on track to be in better shape. And then I was mouth taping then for a period of time where then I lost 25 pounds. I got into great shape. I felt amazing when I woke up. I was getting up early, and I was way more present. And I realized, because I'm an entrepreneur, and so I was running another business at the time, and I actually sold it. And I realized at that time that this could be a new business. This could be something that is so personal to me, so close to me, that I could create a business that inspires other men to mouth tape and change their lives too. And Hostage Tape was born. And now my wife and I sleep in the same bed again, and every once in a while I'll fall asleep. Like maybe if I was watching videos of the election too late, and I'll fall asleep with no mouth tape on, and she'll bump me and say, "Honey, put your tape on," because my mouth might fall open, and then I start snoring again. Then I reach over and I put my mouth tape on, and we're sleeping in the same bed again. And I'm not making any noises, and our kids are down the hall sleeping safe and sound. So, now let's talk about the health benefits. Because some of you have maybe heard this story, and you might be thinking to yourself, oh, did we freeze on Instagram? More technical issues here? I hope not. Okay. So, health benefits. Let's talk about why mouth taping is actually healthy for you. Because again, most of you who never heard of it, or maybe have heard of it and you think it's stupid and crazy, you're thinking breathing through your mouth compared to breathing through your nose. Like, what does it matter? It's air going through a hole in your face. I mean, it's all the same, right? And it's not. And let me give you a couple of really simple, easy ways to think about it. So, number one, when you breathe through your nose, you're actually getting more oxygen. Now, that sounds counterintuitive. You might be thinking, again, Alex, what does it matter? You're breathing through your mouth and your nose. There are two holes in your face. You're breathing the same air. How is it any different? And here's how it's different. So there's this concept called the Bohr effect. I'm going to bore you with the Bohr effect. Okay. And what the Bohr effect says is there's this one for one exchange of CO2 and oxygen. And the Bohr effect says that the more CO2 that we have in our body, the better our bodies can use the oxygen and oxygenate our body. Because of that one for one exchange, then, right, oxygen comes in, CO2 goes out. Oxygen comes in, CO2 goes out. So if we don't have as much CO2, all this oxygen coming in doesn't matter. We can't use it and then oxygenate our body as well. Okay? And so when we breathe through our mouth, we're ventilating, we're exhaling more CO2 than we do compared when we're nose breathing. We're now slowing down the amount of CO2 that we're exhaling. All right. And so again, now that means we're getting more oxygen uptake throughout our body. We're getting more oxygen. Now, number two, when we breathe through our nose, we trigger the release of nitric oxide. Okay, nitric oxide is a vasodilator. It opens up the vessels and allows that blood and that oxygen then to get moving throughout the body. Now, number three, our nose is a filter. It's filtering out all the crap in the air. Just like if you were going to drink a glass of dirty water, your body wouldn't like it too much. Your stomach would probably throw it up and get rid of it. Our nose is filtering all the air for all the bacteria and the garbage, the allergens, the particles. It's then putting them through these turbinates, it's spinning it around, it's warming that air, and then it's humidifying it so that when it hits our lungs, it's more efficient, right? To be able to be pulled into our body for that oxygen uptake. Our lungs like warm, humid air. Doesn't like cold, dry, dirty air very much at all. Now, lastly, one of the final things I would tell you that most people don't realize is it protects your teeth. So when your mouth is open and you're mouth breathing, you are drying out the saliva in your mouth. And that saliva has got good bacteria in it that protects the enamel of your teeth. So when you dry that out, the good bacteria goes away, bad bacteria forms, and then it eats away at your enamel. And then you're way more prone to cavities. Okay? Now, my whole life, I was a mouth breather up until about 5 years ago when I started mouth taping religiously. And as a kid, I was mouth breathing. And I had a real bad issue with cavities in my big molars. And so I would go to the dentist, and my dentist couldn't figure out why, as a kid, I was in high school at the time, why did I have such an issue with cavities? In fact, he thought I was bulimic, of all things. Here I am, this healthy young teenager who was playing football. Bulimic? Like, that was just crazy. But he didn't have any answer. He's like, I don't know why these teeth, it looks like they're just being eaten away. And I used to drink a lot of orange juice, so then we thought, well, maybe it was orange juice, right? I used to drink a lot of orange juice at the time. So maybe the acidity in the orange juice was eating away. But it turns out it was because I was mouth breathing. I was mouth breathing since I was little. And the bad bacteria was forming, and then it was eating away at the enamel, making me way more prone to cavities. Now, I don't like to admit that I don't take the best care of my teeth outside of mouth taping. I don't floss. I brush my teeth normally when I go to bed and when I wake up. And I probably go to the dentist once every 2 years. Okay. And the, um, the, so I bring my kids in to see the dentist probably a couple times a year, get their cleanings, all that stuff, because they need it way more than I do. But this time, my wife she had scheduled me to get a teeth cleaning, and I hadn't gotten a teeth cleaning in probably 2 years. So I go into the dentist, and again, keep in mind, I don't floss my teeth. I don't do as good as I should. I should be flossing every night, and I'm not. I don't floss at all, and I do just the normal minimum required on brushing my teeth, but I'm mouth taping every night. So I go in, and I sit down, and the hygienist goes through. She starts doing her routine of pulling the pick out, right, looking at the teeth, and then she's measuring all my gums everywhere, looking into my file, and she goes, "Huh, interesting." And she goes to the next tooth. "Huh, wow, this is pretty interesting." And she goes all the way through, and she says, "You know, Alex, your teeth and your gums are actually better than what they were 2 years ago." And I thought to myself, no way. It doesn't seem like I'm taking care of my teeth. Doesn't seem like I'm really doing anything. But the biggest difference is I've been mouth taping religiously for the last, again, 4 or 5 years now. So a real powerful story there of how when you're mouth breathing, it can ruin your teeth. And then once you start keeping your mouth shut, mouth taping, focus on nasal breathing, it can save your mouth, it can save your teeth. All right, let's show the product, okay? So, hostage tape. Here we go. Now, this is our tin. This is one of my favorite things here. We've got a tin. This is our bedside tin that usually when you get hostage tape, you're ordering a 30-day supply in one of our packs. Now, if you're watching on TikTok, we've got our buy two, get one free offer that you can take advantage of. That's a 90-day supply, right, for 49 bucks. Okay. Great deal. Now, you pull those out and then you can put them in your tin, and this is how you can store them, keep them right by your bedside. I keep this by my bedside every night, so then I reach over and I pull it out. I also take this with me when I travel. But now here we've got a strip. Okay. Black. We also do have pink for the ladies. Right? A nice shade of pink. Now, when people think of mouth tape, they think, "Oh man, that looks like it's going to suffocate me." But here's what we did. Right? I simply pull. Look at that. Pull the backing off. And what you'll notice here is that it's actually this flexible fabric that you can see through it, and it's actually breathable. Okay? So what you realize here is this is a very comfortable, flexible fabric that if you had to absolutely breathe through it, you could. But most importantly, it's really comfortable, and when you put it on, you soon forget that it's even there because it's so comfortable. It's almost like curling up into a blanket, right? It just feels almost soothing when you get used to it. And so the other reason that this is great is for men, right? We talked about that earlier. A lot of men who start looking into mouth taping, they think, well, I can't mouth tape because I've got facial hair, I've got a beard, I've got stubble. Normal tape doesn't work very well. It's really rigid, so it doesn't do so well with bumps, hairs, those kind of things. But because this is flexible, it does really well with all those bumps, right, and ridges and hairs, right? Lays right over all that stuff and works really, really well. Okay? Now, here's the other thing you might see on my face. You're looking at this guy right here, and you're going, okay, Alex, why are you wearing something on your nose? A lot of people ask that. Now, this is our hostage nose strip. Okay? Our hostage nose strip here. And what we decided to do was when we started selling a lot of the mount tape, we would get the question, well, what about my nose? I have a deviated septum and I've got trouble and issues breathing on my nose. What do I do with that? So we said, okay, well, what if we created a nose strip? Because there's nose strips out there, right? There's another brand out there that's really well known that we won't mention. And we thought, all right, let's do that concept, but let's make it stronger and let's make it look badass. Let's make it look so that it's not like a band-aid on my face. Okay? And what this actually is there's plastic ribs in here that you'll notice create that. So what it does is when you put this on, it then opens up my nostrils. So I would encourage everybody to try this, right? Take your fingers. In fact, my business partner, Ben, before we even started doing nose strips, I always thought that this was just a piece of tape. If I'd ever seen somebody with something on their nose, I'm like, it looks like just a piece of tape. How does that even do anything? And he goes, no, dude, try this. Take your fingers, grab your nostrils, and open them up. If you try that right now, that's what a hostage nose strip will do for you. You put it on and it immediately opens up your nose and you'll breathe like a new person in seconds. Now, I wear a nose strip. Sometimes I'll wear it to bed. A lot of our users, they'll wear mouth tape and they'll wear the nose strip at night because then it really helps with their nasal breathing. I prefer to always wear a nose strip when I'm working out. So I like it for my performance and recovery when I'm doing a run. Because look, when we're running, I can't tell you the amount of people where you'll watch them run and they got their mouth wide open and they're huffing and puffing, and we shouldn't be breathing with our mouth open, folks. We should not be doing that. Now there's a time for it. If you're doing like super hard sprints and you're really exerting a lot of energy, well, okay, yeah, maybe you have to open up your mouth, but we really should be focusing on keeping that shut, really focusing on just nasal breathing when you're running and when you're doing a workout. Okay. In fact, try this next time you go either for a run or if you go into the gym. Focus, think to yourself, keep your mouth shut, and just focus on just breathing through your nose. Right? And then when you wear a nose strip, it helps open that nose up so much easier to be able to get that oxygen in and get everything you need, right, in your body that way. And it looks badass, right, folks? Totally. Having this nice big old black strip on here makes me look real cool and badass. Yeah? Okay. Now we've got a couple of other things too. All right. We've got, so this is our hostage nasal stick. All right. Some of you might have seen these. They've been going viral all over TikTok. We partnered with the Boom Boom guys. They're huge fans, users of hostage tape. They reached out. They're like, dude, we got to work together. And so we came up with the hostage nasal stick. So this is an all-natural nasal inhaler. It's got menthol. It's got eucalyptics. All sorts of issues popping up out of nowhere. So again, we were talking about the Haas's nasal stick, right? Brought to you by the Boom Boom guys, going viral all over TikTok. You got to check these out. Now, we most recently came out with something cool. So, one of the issues that anytime you're using tape and adhesives on your nose and on your face, look, everybody's different. Some people have greasier skin than others. Maybe the climate, creates a little bit of an issue. And so we came up with the Hostage Hold Wipes. And what these are is, it's not that dissimilar from what women use for like makeup, like different makeup type wipes. But these are specific for the putting tape adhesives on your face. It's actually very similar to what like doctors and nurses might use when they're applying bandages. And so these wipes, they help clean like your nose or clean the area around your mouth, and then they also add a little bit of a film to it, and it's non-alcoholic, or there's no alcohol. There's no alcohol base in here, so it won't dry out your skin or hurt or sting or anything. But it cleans and then adds a film that helps make the tape stick to your skin better, and then also when you peel it off, it doesn't hurt as bad. Because depending upon who we are, like we design these suckers to be pretty strong, and for some people, it stays on there pretty well, and when they pull it off, they might have to do it in the shower. I usually always pull my nose strip off after I've done like a sauna, a cold plunge, and a workout, and then I'm usually in the shower when I pull these things off, and I'm sure my wife is super annoyed because I've got a big old stack of black nasal strips like sitting in the corner shelf of our shower. I know she loves seeing that pile of them just grow, every week. So, but okay, so let's talk about who uses Hostage Tape. This is cool. So again, we're the largest mouth tape brand in the world, folks. Right? We've got over 100,000 users across the world. In fact, this is an award that Shopify gives out every time you pass milestone, just like YouTube, gives those milestone plaques out. And this was from April of last year, 2023, where we passed 100,000, and we've gone way past it at this point. But we've got well over 100,000 users using Hostage Tape every night, getting life-changing sleep. Right? Stopping snoring, reducing snoring for most people. It's beard friendly for guys, and it's giving them life-changing sleep. Okay, we are the #1 mouth tape on Walmart, the #1 mouth tape on Amazon, even though mouth tape is banned on Amazon, and they keep pulling us, and we keep relisting. Okay, so any of the other mouth tape brands that you see on Amazon, don't trust them. They're not the real thing, right? We're the real thing. We're the largest brand in the world. So who uses Hostage Tape? Okay, so here's a list of some really cool, pretty well-known people that most of you know. So Joe Rogan, huge fan of Joe Rogan. He's a Hostage Tape user. We've actually been a sponsor of his show. Mark Consuelos, you've seen him on Live with Kelly and Mark. He's a huge fan. He's talked about Hostage Tape quite a bit on his show. Andy Elliott, the #1 sales trainer in the world. Shout out, Andy. If you don't have a six-pack, you're fired. That guy. Troy Aikman, one of the most well-known Hall of Fame quarterbacks of all time, who does Monday Night Football. He's a huge Hostage Tape user. Most of you guys, you're watching him every Monday night. You're listening to him. And just know that those lips, that mouth you're listening to, was wearing Hostage Tape every night. Chris Bumstead, C-Bum, one of the greatest weightlifters, right? One of the greatest bodybuilders of all time. Now, I would argue, Schwarzenegger is probably the best. No, he's the GOAT. But Chris Bumstead is probably arguably better than him, or just as good, many might argue. And Chris Bumstead, C-Bum, he is a Hostage Tape user. In fact, we're going to be doing a contest with him here coming up soon, where you're going to be able to win some Hostage Tape through his app that he's got. Gary Brecka, right? The superhuman protocol. Gary Brecka uses hostage tape, and he recommends hostage tape for a lot of the people that he works with. In fact, he, uh, Kyle from and the Nelk Boys and the whole Happy Dad team, they're wearing hostage tape because Gary Brecka told them you guys need to be wearing hostage tape if you're sleeping with your mouth open. Mark Bell, one of the most well-known dudes in the weightlifting community, Power Project, right? Also the creator of the slingshot. I mean, we owe a lot to Mark. Like very early on, he was one of the first major dudes who started wearing hostage tape, and then all the big names that would come on his podcast, he would start giving them hostage tape, and then people started getting to know who we were, and they started telling everybody about us. Tom Segura. Tom Segura is one of our very early adopters. Wears hostage tape every night. I'm not sure if his wife Christina wears it. She might sometimes. I don't know. Bert Kreischer, the machine. He's been wearing hostage tape. He just did a funny story post about us just a few weeks ago. Pete Holmes. I love Pete Holmes. In fact, I just saw him in concert. He was performing here in Minneapolis. I saw him, got to talk to him backstage. He's a huge hostage tape user every night. Been life-changing for him. In fact, he's got a new movie coming out. I think it's like the best Christmas or the worst Christmas story or something. Super funny guy. Sebastian Maniscalco. Love this dude. He's on a huge tour right now. In fact, he's got a hostage mouth tape bit in his show, right, where he talks about the fact that he's mouth taping now and he looks like a hostage. So he's talking about hostage tape. He wears hostage tape every night. Love it. I always was waiting for the moment that one of these comedians was gonna put us in a bit that they were gonna do, and finally it happened. Sebastian did it. He's got his hostage mouth tape bit that he does. Even Andrew Schultz. Andrew Schultz, well, we just saw him here in Minneapolis. Phenomenal comedian. He just had a baby. He's been playing around with our nose strips, wearing those here and there. We were just mentioned on Love is Blind on Netflix. The amount of people who were watching that show and texted us, and it's like, oh my God, I just saw you guys on Netflix on the Love is Blind show. So we were mentioned there. Garrett was on the show, and he was talking about how he was mouth taping and how he at the time wasn't using hostage tape, but does wear it if he's got like, you know, an excessive amount of facial hair or a beard or something. One of my favorites is right now Sam Hubbard. He is the D end for the Cincinnati Bengals. If you go to Sam Hubbard's Instagram page, he's always got a picture of him pregame where he wears our nose strip in during the game. So he wears the nose strip on, and then he puts some eye black on. He covers, then he creates a line across his face, but he's got the hostage nose strip on, and then he wears our hostage mouth tape when he sleeps at night. So that's a good list. Lots of amazing people that many of you know who are wearing hostage tape and are part of that hostage tape army. All right, so where are we at here? How long have we been going? All right, we're about at our time here. I'm gonna mention just one more time. Again, my name is Alex. I'm the founder of Hostage Tape. We are the largest mouth tape brand in the world. We've got over 100,000 people that use us. In fact, this is an award that Shopify hands out once you pass certain thresholds. And this was actually from over a year ago in April, where we passed the 100,000 threshold, and we've blown way past that now, but we've got well over 100,000 people who use hostage tape every night. And we are the official sleep aid partner of the UFC. We've got a phenomenal story of how I met Dana White and how we became the UFC partner that I'll talk on another night. I'll be going live again on Friday, right? We're also partnered with the largest ear, nose, and throat clinic in California, the Los Angeles Center for Ear, Nose, and Throat. So for anybody that ever questions if, we're backed by science, are there any studies, are there any doctors that back you up? Absolutely. The largest ear, nose, and throat clinic in California backs us and recommends us to all their patients. In fact, what they tell their patients is they'll say, look, when people come in to see them, not everybody needs or should get surgery, right? Because what most people don't realize is that surgery it's really expensive and it's not covered by insurance. Like if you're getting surgery for snoring, it's not covered by insurance. It's expensive, hurts like a bitch, and it doesn't always work, right? And so a really easy, simple, non-invasive way to possibly fix the issue might be mouth taping. And so they'll recommend mouth taping all the time for people before they maybe really need to go fully into doing surgery and getting invasive into their body. But look, there's always a place for it. There's always certain people who definitely need to get surgery if they've got like some major issues with their airways and with their jaws, for sure. And we are the #1 mouth tape on Walmart, the #1 mouth tape on Amazon, even though mouth tape is banned on Amazon, everybody. We keep relisting it though. So any of the other mouth tapes you see on Amazon, they're not the real thing, right? They're not the good ones. We're the official good one. We're the largest brand. We just have to keep relisting it because they keep pulling it. Okay, we're the largest brand on Shopify and out there on the web, everybody. Okay. In fact, we're going to be launching into retail. We're going to be launching into stores, physical stores here in 2025. So very soon in a store near you, you're going to be able to get hostage tape. But you can always just go to the website right now. Okay. And stay tuned. We've got a huge Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale coming up. Stay tuned for that. Okay. If you're not a user yet, go to the website, put your email in. We're going to be sending out some emails and some reminders about that Black Friday deal that's coming up here, everybody. So again, thanks for your time, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thanks for listening. I'm going to be streaming every week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday nights, 7 o'clock Central Time. My social, Kyle, he'll be streaming on TikTok every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays. And you might see some other characters pop on here from time to time. We might do maybe some streams during the day as well. Okay? But thanks for watching, everybody. Appreciate it. And don't let bad sleep hold you hostage.